It is a nationwide crisis impacting every one of us. Opioids, legal and illegal, they're addictive and deadly.
This epidemic is a national health emergency.
Lives are being lost by the tens of thousands every year to painkiller abuse and heroin. The financial impact is in the billions. Opioid issues knife across each state, endangering every American city, suburb, and town, all cut deeply by the opioid epidemic. Eric Bolling lost his son to the synthetic opioid fentanyl at his Colorado University.
We must commit to removing the stigma of shame that comes with addiction and helping change public opinion so that people find evidence-based treatment before it's too late.
Stand up and fight the opioid crisis now. This is a Your Voice, Your Future town hall. Opioids, a national crisis. Now, Eric Bolling.
I want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. Beautiful day in Las Vegas. I want to say thank you to the Westgate Resorts, the Seagulls. They've been phenomenal. I want to say a special thank you to the First Lady. I want to also thank News 3 here, a local Sinclair broadcast company who's carrying this as well. But thank all of you for coming out. I want to get right to the First Lady in 1 second, but I just want to tell you very quickly. You saw my story up there. What we didn't have time to do in an opening promotion is I had the worst phone call that a parent could ever expect to get or ever hope to never get, a late night phone call from a girl crying. And my son, who was a sophomore, only child at University of Colorado, was his girlfriend called and she was crying. And my only words to her were, "Kaylee, is he alive?" And she said no. And at that moment, I realized this is something that you just can't plan for. You dive into a depth that is unimaginable. Anyway, my wife heard what was going on. She fell out of the car. We had just been out to dinner, and we cried on the roadway for 2 hours. Make a long story short, I'm here now not because I want to be. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be an opioid expert. I don't want people to say you're strong. I'm not. I'm weak. I don't have answers. But what we're doing here is trying to save one life. I think we're saving literally thousands, but one is enough. All right, I don't want to waste any more of your time because she's on a very, very tight schedule. She is amazingly busy. I want to introduce to you right now a good friend of mine. By the way, President Donald Trump tweeted about this appearance just a little while ago. A very good friend of mine, the First Lady of the United States of America, Mrs. Trump, Melania Trump. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Eric. I'm honored to be with you again. Good afternoon. I'd like also to take a moment to thank you for the strength you have shown, despite what I know to be the grief you and Adrian deal with each day. People who are able to use a profound loss to help others are an inspiration to all of us. You honor your son each day by shining a light on this nation's opioid crisis and by the lives I know you are saving. Thank you again for allowing me to spend part of such a heartfelt and impactful event. The United States is by far the largest consumer of opioids, using more pills per person than any other country in the world. In fact, overdose deaths have quadrupled since 1999 and now account for the majority of fatal drug overdoses. These overdoses are being driven by a huge increase in addiction to prescription painkillers, heroin, and now fentanyl. No part of our society or our country has been spared for the deadly disease or drug addiction. As most of you here know, my husband and his entire administration are committed to fighting the nation's opioid epidemic. As the statistics very clearly demonstrate, It is the worst drug crisis in American history, and as such, the President declared it a public health emergency and directed all executive agencies to use every appropriate emergency authority to fight this crisis. I have been honored to work alongside many of those agencies, including the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Homeland Security, the Office of National Drug Control Policy, and now joining us later today, the United States Drug Enforcement Agency. Together and with all of you here today, I know we can make a real difference and save lives. I do believe we can be known as the generation that ended the opioid epidemic. I'm so proud of the hard work and results that have already been demonstrated, including the work being done alongside doctors and medical professionals to carry out best practices for safe opioid prescribing, and requiring federally employed prescribers to receive special training to reduce overprescribing and increase access to evidence-based treatments. This administration also supports first responders and medical professionals access the tools they need to prevent deaths through life-saving overdose medications, and is currently distributing over $1.4 billion in grants for addiction prevention and treatment, and over $50 million to support law enforcement programs that assist those facing prison and addiction. The United States Postal Service has strengthened its inspections of packages coming into our country to try and stop the flow of fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that is 50 times stronger than heroin and manufacturing in China. The Centers of Disease Control and Prevention has launched an awareness campaign called RX Awareness, and will soon be launching another anti-stigma campaign called Crisis Next Door in partnership with the White House. This campaign will give a voice to those affected by opioid crisis by allowing them to share their stories. And Eric Bolling was one of the first to share his family's story, inspiring hundreds more who have followed his lead. When I took opioid abuse as one of the pillars of my initiative Be Best, my focus has mainly been on neonatal absence syndrome, which are conditions that occur when a baby withdraws from the drugs it was exposed during pregnancy. After they are born, these innocent babies endure nausea, pain, anxiety, sleeplessness, and trouble eating, the same as adults who undergo detox. We must do all that we can to educate young mothers and on the danger of abusing drugs and encourage medical facilities around the country to implement programs such as the Maternal Addiction Treatment, Education, and Research Program at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Their vital program has been helping mothers and children since the 1970s, offering treatment programs designed to support both mothers and their babies. Less than a year later, and after meeting with so many families with heartbreaking stories, I have started to expand my focus with the goal of helping children of all ages. I have visited many hospitals and facilities dedicated to helping all who have been affected by the disease of drug addiction. I have spent time with adults who are addicted, babies born addicted, and families coping with the addiction of a loved one. And every time I'm struck by just how many people have been touched by the drug addiction. Whether it is because of personal use or that of family members friends, co-workers, or neighbors, opioid addiction is an illness that has truly taken on hold of our country. I have learned that we have a responsibility to not just ourselves, but also those who may be struggling around you. I have said this before, but it bears repeating. While you may never personally become addicted, the chances of you knowing someone who struggles with a high, and if you or someone you know needs help, please be brave enough to ask or strong enough to stand with them as they fight through the disease. Please educate yourselves so you know the signs of addiction and also feel secure enough to talk about it and keep talking about it until help arrives. If even one of you lives here today and talks to a friend or family member about the potential to end this crisis, then we have succeeded. Ending this opioid will require continued effort by the entire country, including the government, neighborhoods, and communities, and private organizations. I'd also like to take a moment to challenge the media to cover this very real issue as often as possible. In 2017, we lost at least 72,000 Americans to overdoses. That's 197 Americans' lives per day, more than 8 lost lives per hour. I challenge the press to devote as much time to the lives lost and the potential lives that could be saved by dedicating the same amount of coverage that you do to idle gossip or trivial stories. When we see breaking news on TV or the front pages of newspapers, it is my hope that it can be about how many lives we were able to save through education and honest dialogue. We all have a real opportunity to help this country to save lives, and I know these are the real issues that people care about. By thinking of this epidemic not just in terms of statistics, but as a human story, we have the potential to not just reduce, but eliminate the statistics I mentioned earlier. Together, we can support our next generation and work together to strengthen fragile families and communities. I look forward to hearing from the rest of today's guests and from the people who have asked questions via social media. I also want to thank each of you for taking the time to be here today. And of course, Westgate Arena for hosting such an important and potentially life-saving event. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
That was wonderful. That was great. We stand here just stay with us for 1 second. The First Lady of the United States, everybody. We're here at Las Vegas. First Lady. We're just going to clear a little piece of equipment over here, and we're going to give the First Lady the microphone.
Sure.
Let's grab a seat. So, I'd like to start with, I just moved to South Carolina. And I called my wife. I said, what should I call the First Lady? We've known each other for many, many years, 11, 12 years. And Melania, I've seen your, So she's like, maybe Mrs. Trump. And I said, well, in South Carolina, they say Lady A. My wife's name is Adrian, Lady A. May I call you Lady M?
Yes, of course.
Lady M. So listen, I heard you, and I've heard you going around the country. By the way, thank you so much. Everyone, thank her for what she's doing in the opioid crisis epidemic. Thank you. You mentioned the media. Will you please expand on how you think the media is treating this, the epidemic, and treating those of us who are trying to fight the opioid epidemic?
Well, I wish the media would talk about more and educate more children, also adults, parents, about the opioid crisis that we have in the United States. They do it already, but I think not enough.
Do you think they are they partisan? Obviously, the husband is very involved in the opioid. Can I tell us a quick story, guys? My son passed away at 10:30 at night one night. The president and the first lady called me the next morning. I was in Colorado. He was going to the University of Colorado. And they called and they said, can I do anything? We were in such a funk, I didn't know where up or down was. But what really struck me was about 5 or 6 weeks later, it was Thanksgiving, and we had that proverbial empty chair for Thanksgiving dinner. And I know it's about to be really, really bad. I walk towards the table. This is honest to God, true story. As I approach the table, everyone's already seated. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to help my wife a little bit. The phone rings again, and it was President Trump and the First Lady saying, we know how hard this day is for you. We just want you to know we're thinking about you. There's the compassion of the First Family. Thank you. But what else can the media do? How can they help us in our fight and help you in your fight, especially with the Be Best initiatives?
Well, just for example, we are here today talking about it. I think it should be on every media, on the front pages of the newspaper, and I'm sure a lot of people would follow and go home and talk with the children, educate them so they are responsible adults, and they show them how drugs can be dangerous.
Do you have that conversation with Barron?
I do. Yes, I teach him. I try to explain how drugs are dangerous and it will mess up your head, it will mess up your body, and nothing comes positive out of it.
So we were in Asheville. You had joined us at Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. We then went to Asheville, North Carolina, and we got a phone call after the Asheville show. And it was a lady who had said, I had watched the First Lady at Liberty University. It was amazing. I was stunned. I followed it, and she watched the Asheville show as well. She called the news director afterwards saying, you saved my life, to the news director. And he said, why? Well, I watched the First Lady in Lynchburg. I got involved. I'm a 5-year heroin user. I'm addicted, but I turned my life around. I'm off. She quit right there. So your reach is amazing. It's amazing.
That's why we are here, so many people. We could save lives.
Yeah. Another lady called and said, I had the discussion with my 11-year-old daughter, and she said that she wasn't sure that an 11-year-old would understand what was going on. And to her surprise, the 11-year-old daughter said, oh, yeah, Mom, someone had brought some of that to school once. 11. So what age is the age that parents should start talking to their children about drugs?
I think 8. I don't think, because nowadays the children are so smart and they're so, the life is such fast life, and they have access to everything, the media, the technology, so they're aware of it, and we need to teach them in early age how dangerous drugs are.
Where do you think, so we have, there's law enforcement side of it, cracking down on dealers, making sure drugs aren't coming into the country, but there's also the awareness side of it. Where do you think we are? Which is stronger in America right now, our law enforcement side or the awareness side? Where do we need the most help?
Well, law enforcement, they're doing an amazing job, and we should applaud them for everything what they do. But we need to make sure that no drugs are coming to our country. We know they're coming through southern border, but also they're coming from China, and it's very dangerous. And we need to stop that. We need to really work hard to stop that.
So I was, yeah, please. I was at a bill signing, and Lady M, you made some eloquent remarks, and the president made some eloquent remarks, and then we signed into law, the American people signed into law $6 billion to fight the opioid crisis for this year and next year. Where is that money best directed?
I would say just for people to helping and to have many facilities that whoever have an addiction, we could save people's lives.
You spend a lot of time in hospitals. Tell us about that. What do you see with these, not only neonatal, but also children who are addicted, adults who are addicted? What are you seeing in the hospitals?
I met a lot of young mothers who had babies, and babies born with neonatal absence syndrome. It's very hard to see, and they need help. When they come out of the hospital, they need help. We need to establish more programs for young mothers. And I meet a lot of families who have a problem.
Tell us about it, holding a baby that's addicted to an opioid. What does that feel like? What does that look like? What is that experience like?
It's very touching. It's in one way it's very sad, but I have a hope because we have a lot of great professionals who they know what they're doing, and they're saving those babies, and those babies slowly transition to a healthy lifestyle.
And they're shaking sometimes, or
they're shaking. They cannot sleep. They have nausea. They don't eat properly. And it takes time before they go off the drugs. It's like it's a slow process.
In your home country, is there a drug problem the way it is here?
It's not the way it is here. Of course, every country has a drug problem, but it's not the way it is here. It always was a problem, but they're doing the best that they can to prevent the young children to go in the wrong path.
Are they doing something differently than we are?
I think the stigma needs to be addressed, and we need to talk about it, and whoever has a problem should not be ashamed to come forward to ask for help.
Yeah. One of the things we've learned, folks, is that as we go around the country, and again, Sinclair's been great, we've been doing 14 of these, I think that's the thing that we've realized the most. The best tool to fight the opioid crisis is removing the stigma, and what we mean is, if you're a young person who's worried about getting thrown off a football team, or getting, suspended from school, or in trouble with your parents, or someone who's in the workforce worrying about getting fired, or someone worrying about being arrested if they show up at a first responder with drugs on them trying to help a friend, that's got to go away. Most states are passing what's called Good Samaritan laws, which allow you, if your friend is having a problem, overdosing, to bring the friend in and no questions asked, they will be taken care of. Do we need more of that?
We need more of that. I visited the rescue in New Hampshire last year, and they're doing a fantastic job, and they're saving many lives, and we need more of that. We need that in every town, really.
Okay, so now, and we did this at Liberty too, we transitioned to have a little bit of fun. We were allowed to do that. Lady M, tell us a little bit about what you do. Give us a typical day in the White House. What does Lady M do for when she gets up, has a little coffee perhaps, and then?
My days are very busy. I wake up very early. I make sure my son goes off to school, and then I start working. I'm having a team in my East Wing of 12. We're working very hard, working with them very closely and very detail-oriented. And then I have 100 people looking over in the residence, and also working very closely with White House Historical Association, making sure the White House is in beautiful, perfect shape.
The last time we were here, we talked about the red Christmas trees. You remember what happened after?
I remember.
It went everywhere. Everyone loved the red Christmas trees. The media was calling her out for it, but boy, they were phenomenal. Guess what? I think you started a red Christmas tree phenomenon in America. Okay, so here, I asked you this question before, and I'm going to ask it again. 20, 30 chefs in the White House, I guess, make sure they can cook anything. Lady M, do you ever say, all right, you guys got the night off, and you get behind there, and what would you cook for you and the president if you had that, if you had everything that you're exposed to everything, any type of food, what do you cook?
I didn't do that yet, honestly. There are always a little snacks that I could prepare for our son, and when he comes home late. But no, it's really no time, and they're doing in the White House, they're doing such a fantastic job that they're a real professional, so I want to keep them.
All right, one more question. If the family had one choice for a meal as a group, what would it be? Casserole? McDonald's? Someone said McDonald's, McDonald's.
Maybe spaghetti.
There we go. There we go. All right. What I want to do now is we ask social media for some questions. And the reason why I'm doing this is the New York Times had heard that we were going to ask questions of the First Lady, and they called me. They said, are you really going to do that, or are you going to make these up? And I swear to you, I didn't make these up. These are legitimate social media questions from both Facebook and Twitter and commentary. I asked you that one by accident. How is your birth country? We went over that one. What is your goal, and how do you plan to achieve it? By the way, it's a wonderful thing she's doing. What's your goal of this?
Of my Be Best initiative? Yeah. I'm very proud what we achieved so far. It's almost a year-old initiative. It has 3 pillars: well-being of children, use of social media, and opioid crisis. I just visited yesterday Microsoft. They showed me how children can be safe on the internet and websites and Xboxes and all the games. And I'm very proud what we achieved so far. I want to shine a light on the successful programs and give them the voice and support them and partner with them. So people across the country and around the world, they will have more knowledge and we educate them.
Very good. Couple quick comments. They want us to wrap because we have the First Lady has a very tight schedule. Very quickly, taking from screen grab, my 5-year-old granddaughter woke up after getting dressed and said, I think I look like that beautiful lady in the White House. Please keep fighting the fight for the children of America. And you want to know something? They're right. Our children deserve us to fight for them. First Lady Melania Trump. One quick question before we go. I'm sorry, producers. One quick question. There's a bowling alley in the basement of the White House. Ever go bowling?
I just renovated it. It looks beautiful. It really looks beautiful, yes. And we have fun sometimes, and I'm looking forward to using it more now that it's right there close to our house.
Who doesn't